Electric cars have been gaining popularity in recent years, and most people believe this is a good thing. Well, let me tell you, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Electric cars are nowhere near as good for the environment as you may have thought. And by the end of the video, I'll convince you electric cars are worse for the environment than internal combustion cars. With the overwhelming support people providing to electric car companies, such as investing money to help produce them or buying the cars, the hype behind electric cars is unreal. Most people will argue that electric cars are extremely environmentally friendly, which they do seem, but once you do some research and dig a little deeper, you'll be shocked with what you find. So make sure to watch to the end, and I guarantee I'll change your view on electric cars. First and foremost, just by mining for the materials that make an electric car battery, you have to mine for nickel, lithium, and cobalt, which are mined in Australia as well as lots of other countries, and then sent to Norway to be refined and turned into batteries. Then the batteries are sent to where the cars are manufactured and installed to the cars. Did you know in most cobalt mines, children are mining for the cobalt? Which is terrible because these kids are meant to be in school and having fun, but because their families are living in poverty and need the money, they are forced to mine and earn money. Imagine if you or your kids were working in these mines at only 12 years old in the full sun and heat, doing physical labor all day. How would you feel? The large batteries electric vehicles use are made with lithium, which, like any raw material, needs to be mined. And the mining process produces lots of greenhouse gases. And it's a problem that's only going to grow unless the manufacturing process becomes more efficient. Sales of electric vehicles topped 1 million per year for the first time in 2017, and some estimates predict that by the year 2030, there'll be more than 125 million electric vehicles on the road. And those vehicles are going to need batteries. Needless to say, lithium is in high demand, and it all has to come from somewhere. It takes on average about 8 to 10 metric tons of CO2 to produce an electric vehicle. That's a lot. Obviously, the bigger the battery, the more CO2 it takes to produce it. Some smaller batteries and economy sized EVs use few to 2 metric tons to produce, but larger EVs with long range batteries can be responsible for 17 metric tons of CO2 emissions. More than half the world's lithium supply comes from the Lithium Triangle, an area between Chile, Bolivia, and Argentina, in the arid salt plains of the Atacama Desert in the Andes Mountains. Workers drill through the crust of the salt to get the mineral rich brine below the surface. The process leaches massive amounts of groundwater from the surrounding area, resulting in decreased water supply and less accessible water for local agriculture. In the region of Chile, mining companies have used 65% of the region's water. It takes 750 tons of brine to just produce 1 ton of lithium. And then there's the problem of recycling these things. The process in which lithium-ion batteries are recycled is not at the point it needs to be to deal with the growing number of spent batteries from electric vehicles. There are plenty of different challenges associated with recycling these batteries. Relatively insane things like storage becomes a huge issue because of the volatility of elements in a lithium battery. There have been already a huge number of fires in facilities that process old batteries. Is the number of potential catastrophic fires and explosions going to go up as more batteries are stockpiled in the future? It all depends on how quickly the industry evolves to deal with these issues. Like I said earlier, mining them can lead to lots of issues, as well as humanitarian concerns. Lithium also uses lots of water when being mined, causing potential problems for agriculture. They are only as green as their power source, which charging stations are generally powered by fossil fuels or diesel generators. You can't drive as far in an electric car, which means you have to fill up your car with more electricity, which is made out of fossil fuels.
On top of all this, electric cars and their batteries need to be made, which we've been through, but all the materials that are used to make the electric vehicles have to be transported, which either get transported by air, sea, or land using planes, trucks, or boats. This is detrimental to the operation of building electric cars, and if you couldn't transport the materials, then they wouldn't be able to make the cars and batteries. But by transporting the materials to make the vehicles, you are then polluting the air with all the emissions that are being used by using a boat, a car, a truck, or a plane, which is far worse, which obviously has to be done with internal combustion cars as well, except so it's an extra step that is required to be made to make these cars functional. So the extra emissions it takes to build and transport these batteries is far greater than it is to build an internal combustion car.
In conclusion, as I've stated in the arguments above, electric vehicles definitely have pros and cons, but as of right now, there are more cons than pros, which will change over time as the technology develops to build them and becomes more accessible and advanced.